She was able to lose around 31 pounds with us in a span of 9 months of working together. Alhamdulillah. Who were you before we started working together? And where were you physically, mentally, and emotionally?
I have always struggled with my weight. So even in my family, like I kind of grew up with somebody always making comments about my weight.
What was the actual turning point that made you want to join and look for help and assistance?
42-year-old woman, primary diagnosis diabetes. Saw that I ended up breaking down and I was like, this is gonna be me if I don't figure it out.
What the program did for you, physically, mentally, spiritually, maybe.
I got compliments from my doctor actually because my sugar got controlled.
What's possible for you now that wasn't possible for you 9 months ago?
I was able to pray every single prayer in this month of Ramadan. I don't feel weighed down by my body. It gave me the strength to fight my nafs.
If someone is watching in the same shoes as you, high sugar, overweight, low energy, what would you say to that person?
Nobody's gonna come to save you. Like if you don't get yourself out of it, you're gonna end up living a life that's not yours.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Today I'm here with Muneeza Khan, one of our clients who wrapped up our transformation program, alhamdulillah. And really, the results are going to speak for themselves. She was able to lose around 31 pounds with us in a span of 9 months of working together, alhamdulillah. And, not just physically, but mentally, spiritually, really become the best version of herself, alhamdulillah. So, if you're on the fence about joining, take a listen to her interview and see for yourself, inshallah. So, Moniza, I want you to speak a little bit about yourself. Jazakallah khair for being here, first and foremost.
Thank you.
Before we even dive into the results, I'd like you to kind of talk about yourself. Who were you before we started working together? And, where were you physically, mentally, and emotionally, if you don't mind?
So, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa barakatuh. I have always struggled with my weight. I also come from a culture where, girls are supposed to be petite and they're supposed to be this particular image. So even in my family, like I kind of grew up with somebody always making comments about my weight. So as I got older, I developed a lot of eating patterns that kept me down. And no matter how hard I tried, it always got to my head, where the only way I've ever actually lost weight in the past was one time I got into something with a family member and I decided that I was going to starve myself. And I did. And I starved myself for like 3 weeks, maybe a month. I barely ate. I had like egg whites for breakfast and maybe a yogurt, lots of water, and just nuts. That's literally all I ate. It was so bad. I was always hungry and I lost a lot of weight. But then COVID came and I gained back, I would say like triple. Like I was the biggest I've ever been.
Oh.
I became so depressed. My self-esteem just shattered. I'm also like a social worker, so I studied eating disorders and I was sitting in class and I've heard, these eating disorders I was studying and I was like, wow, like this kind of describes what I'm doing. And it was really hard for me to sit in a classroom where they were describing my habits.
Mm.
And it just kind of put me lower than I've ever been.
Oh.
And I did give up for a very long time. So I ended up kind of giving up. And I just actually, after COVID, recently, I bumped into you. And I don't know, I was a bit hesitant because I was just done. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
alhamdulillah.
phenomenal. Now, I really appreciate you, talking about the struggle and having people relate to a kind of similar situation. I know a lot of people that I speak to, before COVID, they're generally pretty good, right? And then during COVID is when things kind of really halted and presented a fork in their life where they didn't know what to do
Mm.
afterwards. It was hard acclimating, getting back into things. So your certain sort of situation. So what was it that kind of made you take that action, take that next step, and like was there a moment that said, I can't keep going like this? Or, what was the actual turning point that made you want to join and look for help and assistance?
I grew up with my mom always being sick.
Mhm.
So I got diagnosed with diabetes about, I would say, right after COVID,
Mhm.
and I ignored it for like I think a year and a half, and I worked in hospice as my first job out of um, college, and my colleagues who were nurses, they were kind of like, "Oh, like you're unmanaged, and Muneeza, it can cause a lot of problems." And I just never listened to them until one of my colleagues took me to a patient's room, and they were 40 something years old. They were passing away. And, he told me, he was like, "Can you look at the feet and do like an assessment?" And I'm a social worker, so I was like, "Why is he telling me to do this?" So I thought it was because I had experience as a tech, so I was doing whatever I knew. And I was just like, "Okay, this is what I'm seeing. What does that mean?" And he just looked at me and he goes, "42-year-old woman, primary diagnosis diabetes."
SubhanAllah.
And I
That's a lot.
just broke down. I cursed him out and I left the room because it was 8 o'clock in the morning and he showed me a reality I was not ready for
Yeah.
at all. But he had been like advising me throughout the week. He was like, "Muneeza, like I'm seeing the symptoms. You're going to the bathroom more often.
Mm.
You're tired, you're anxious, you're very emotional." And I was just like, "Nah, like bro, I've been pre-diabetic for a very long time."
Yeah.
So when I was told that I was diabetic, I was angry. And I
Mm.
was like, forget it. I was diagnosed with this a while back anyway, so whatever. But I didn't know that diabetes is one of the
SubhanAllah.
most silent killers. So seeing that and seeing the patient, not having her toes and not having her fingers, and then ending up in this end of life journey of hers, was really scary for me. So when I saw that, I ended up breaking down, and I was like, this is gonna be me if I don't figure it out.
SubhanAllah. That's
So yeah,
crazy.
scary.
Yeah, no, very, very much. I got goosebumps thinking about that.
Sorry for that trauma.
Yeah, no, no, that's something that a lot of people need to hear, and it's hard
Yeah.
to pick that imagery unless you've been there. So I mean, at that point, talking about your situation at that point, right? Like, what weight were you at when you first started? When you were like, okay, this is the worst I've been, and I need help. What weight were you at that point?
Um, I think I was 218, and when I came to you, I was 216.
Okay, okay. So it started off at 218. Yeah, I remember that
Yeah.
216. And so when you actually got inside the program, right? When you actually signed up for the lead team, how did things change, right? How did the system, the check-ins, the support kind of help you follow through and establish that level of consistency that you needed to make such a big difference, mashallah?
So I think when I started, I low-key just thought I was wasting my money.
Hmm.
I was like, all right, like this is another thing I'm gonna try, but whatever, right? Um, I started it, and at first I was motivated. You were like, "Oh, I want pictures." I like first thing first is like there was no judgment,
Hmm.
right? I told my problem. I was like, "I have a problem with rice. I have a problem with carbs, and I can't give them up."
Yeah.
I remember like somebody like I was getting a whole routine of like instead of rice, use quinoa or blah blah blah, and I was like, "Cut it, not gonna do it."
Hmm.
I've tried so many times, but I end up like going back and indulging more into it.
Yep.
And then I remember you saying this most powerful. You were like, "Okay, cool. Don't portion control. Don't do anything. Eat the way you regularly want to eat, but just pack it up with salad."
Mm.
And I was like, "Okay, you know what? That I can do." So even though I didn't meet you where
Hmm.
you were like, "All right, I'm not going to take it away from her. Do what you need to do." And then by the time I made it through my salad, like I had my regular portion, and I remember just to spite you, not spite you per se, but I would say like my own body, I would eat on purpose faster so that I can get to the rice. But even though I was doing that, one week went by, 2 weeks went by, I saw a change. Then I had my bad days.
Yeah.
And on my bad days, I would stop responding.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, "Where's my pictures? Where are my pictures?" And I would stop responding.
Yeah.
Then it
I
would be,
know I know you do pretty often. Yeah.
yeah. So I end up like going AWOL. And then, but the thing is, like, despite the fact that I was ignoring the support never stopped.
Mhm.
And I think that seeing that okay, this person is not giving up made me realize that maybe I'm not wasting my money because they're not going away. You know what I mean? A goal was set, and until that goal is not set or achieved, I'm gonna have this support.
Yeah.
And I think we even went like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks without communication, and I like completely, I think I like muted the app too. And I'm
That's
sorry.
news to me. I didn't know that because I would be sending
Sorry.
messages every day, every other day, and
Yeah.
not getting any response. And I knew at one point I was bothering you, but I was like, "Hey, this is what the
Yeah.
support is, right?" So
And
okay,
then
that's news to me. Okay, cool.
I
Breaking
did.
news.
I apologize. And then you sent a voice note, and I think I was actually in the process of indulging and going through my phase that I normally go through. And I clicked the app because I was like, damn, I really paid a lot for this. And I clicked on it and I listened to the voice recording, and you had said to me, you know what? It's okay that you're not responding. Sometimes we just need occasional check-ins. And you don't have to respond to me every day, but occasionally check in with me to make sure that you are fulfilling the habits that we talked about in the beginning. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, let me try to send him one picture of my food. And then from one to two, I got back into my routine.
Yeah.
So
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, it's some people it's different, right? Some people need that in motivation maybe once or twice a week, right? Initially, obviously, we try to keep communication on a daily basis, but if someone's not receptive to it, then it's like, okay, let's start off with every 2 days, every 3 days, right? We'll see maybe a weekly thing, whatever it may be, depending on the person's needs. For you, it was like, okay, I'm gonna bother you in the beginning. And in the beginning it was cool. And this happens to some people. Beginning we progress, we hit a low, we were like, okay, we're good, and then there's a plateau, and there's points where it's like a communication cease. Like for that 2 week period, I remember I would look at the trend of messages and be like, okay, I'm just bothering her, but at this point, I still have to keep doing it. But Alhamdulillah, at one point you responded, and that's kind of when really things. That's when you dialed in. I noticed
yeah,
a shift, and you were like, okay, like you mentioned, I paid for this. I invested my time, my effort. Let me get more out of it. And Alhamdulillah, through that, we were able to really see the shift and the change not only physically on the scale, but also in your energy and these shifts that you have as well. And that's really what allowed you to get to what you were able to accomplish, mashallah. So in
yeah.
terms of the results, right? Maybe you could speak a little bit of the results in terms of what the program did for you, right? Physically, mentally, spiritually, maybe since you joined. Was there ever a moment you stepped on the scale of the mirror and you were like, dang, like this is pretty damn good, what kind of feedback did you get from your family? I know you've had one point where during the family you mentioned the reason you started was because someone said something in a family or something along those lines. So what are your family, your coworkers, any sort of feedback? What did you reap from the program itself?
I got compliments from my doctor actually because my sugar got controlled.
Alhamdulillah.
And it actually, while doing this, I had more confidence in like going to my doctors because I could proudly say to them when they were like, "Oh, you need to work out," and I'm like, "Huh, I'm already doing that. I'm already watching my diet." So I was so happy to be able to say those to my doctor. And then with family too, like my brothers, they would make comments like, "Hey, like, what are you doing? Like your face looks smaller." Or they were like, "Oh, your nose shape changed." And I'm like, what a
Nice.
weird comment to say, right? But they're my siblings, and I think for me the breaking point was I was stuck at 195 for a very long time. Um, and the moment that I broke 190, I think my cousin was right next to me and I broke it. And I remember like looking at her, I was like, yes, you broke 190.
Alhamdulillah.
And she looked at me and she was so excited, alhamdulillah, because she's always been there during my struggles. So she saw my face light up, she saw my whole attitude change, and it gave me this boost of confidence and reality check of like, oh, maybe I'm not ugly, or maybe I can do this.
Mm,
So yeah, it
Alhamdulillah.
was 190.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I remember you were really, really hyped when you
Yeah,
when
I
you
sent
when
you
you got
bad
up on the
pictures after
scale.
that.
Yeah, so much. And it was awesome to see because I genuinely love it. Like there's nothing better than seeing a client progress to the degree that you have. And it's like, all right, now they're feeling it. Like
Yeah.
someone who's been in the journey themselves, who's been like pre-diabetic and has gone through the journey itself. It's so empowering to see someone who's taking control of their life and the choices. And it's not easy, right? You know, as Muslims, we have certain things that we have to do, you know, like salah, like dua, the adhkar, all these things. These other things like food, you know, watching yourself, exercise, these are not things we have to do, but you make the conscious choice of whether you want to do it to benefit yourself and doing it for the right intention, or you just leave it to the side, right? And those who take the option of doing it, even though it's hard, and this is not an easy thing to do, and you know that better than anybody.
Yeah.
Those who do it, you will see that they will get further in life than the ones who decide that they're content with where they are. And mashallah, you've been able to do that, and through the program, you've lost 31 pounds with us in the span of
Um,
9 months, alhamdulillah. And that's a huge accomplishment considering the amount of stress that was going on in your life, the day-to-day activities and everything. Huge accomplishment, controlling your sugar and whatnot. So now, you know, what is sort of possible for you now, right? Having the sort of shift that you have, the energy shift, the knowledge that you have, what's possible for you now that wasn't possible for you 9 months ago or so?
if I'm being honest, I don't know if I should give you the credit or if I should give Ramadan the credit. I will give you some credit because I think that losing the weight gave me and managing my sugars gave me more energy,
Mhm.
helped me balance my hormones for sure. And I was able to pray every single prayer in this month of Ramadan. And um, even after Ramadan, when I struggle to pray, I think that one of the things that really helps is that I don't feel weighed down by my body. Like, I'm like, okay, the thing, like, it gave me the strength to fight my nafs,
Mm,
which I think is one of the something that I didn't even know that I should have been fighting for years.
mm,
So I kind of think about that and I'm like, this is really cool that, you get your body in order and then somehow your body, mind, and soul is like communicating again. That like connection that was severed is now rebuilding, though it's not as strong and we can
yeah,
do better and
of course.
inshallah we will continue to. But yeah.
Absolutely. And I love that, right? This entire program is rooted in fighting your nafs, right? It's all
Yeah.
about making those better decisions, even when it's hard, finding the discipline, finding those techniques, those coping mechanisms that you can use, like you mentioned, right? Techniques that don't require you to go to an all-out extreme, but implement the concept of balance in the deen. And alhamdulillah, you were able to find that. So
Mhm.
what's some, you know, alhamdulillah, you've achieved amazing results, right? But for someone on the fence
Inshallah.
right now, right, you know, what would you tell them if someone is watching in the same shoes as you, high sugar, overweight, low energy, not content with the way their body looks, all these things, right? What would you say to that person, that female, that guy?
Um, Despite the fact that you don't want your toes and fingers cut off, um, in
Motivation.
all honesty, I would say that nobody's gonna come to save you. You
Mm,
hear it from everybody. You know it, you're scared, you're holding your breath, and you've lost hope in yourself. But at the end of the day, nobody is gonna come and get you out of it. And when you face your Lord, He's gonna ask you what you did. Like He would ask you what you did with the amana that He gave you. And all of these major speakers, they'll be like, "Oh, your body's a temple," and
yeah,
X, Y, and Z. And yeah, that's cool to say while you're standing there with a six pack and you got everything
yep,
situated. But for somebody who's going through depression or going through these voices in your head over and over again, to genuinely look at them in the face and say, "I'm sorry, but nobody's gonna come save you."
yeah,
Like if you don't get yourself out of it, you're gonna end up living a life that's not yours.
absolutely. That's
So,
beautiful. And alhamdulillah, you know, our program is not only rooted in, you know, and like you mentioned, you touched on it. It's not just a matter of losing the weight. It's a matter of shifting energy, shifting your belief, right? And realizing that things that were seemed impossible are absolutely very possible with your work. And of course, like you mentioned, the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and
I
foremost.
mean, sure.
So in terms of our program, right, the leading, the sisters group and things of that nature, and the one-to-one accountability, what would you say to someone who's thinking about joining the program?
I will say that this is the one program that even when you give up on yourself in the midst of it, we'll still give you breadcrumbs to follow.
Mm.
Like even when you walk away from yourself, even after you invested, like let's just, when you start a subscription and then you forget,
Yeah,
like this is not a gym membership. You're not gonna make a payment and then all of a sudden it's just a reoccurring thing on your paycheck. It's it's something that even when you forget to pay attention to, you're gonna have that support, and that support is gonna come whether you want it or not. So it's kind of annoying sometimes, but
fair enough.
that person's not going to give up on you.
Alhamdulillah, love it, love it. Yeah, that's also annoying, but it works. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
it's annoying, but it works.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, good. So,
Alhamdulillah.
do you regret joining the program? Do you regret the annoyances? What's your sort of ending thoughts?
I think that there is a version of me that's in my head, and inshallah, when I have my kids and I am able to be that sporty mom, play around with my kids, and live my life better, I will definitely come back for Lean Dean and be like, hey, like y'all did that.
Alhamdulillah.
So
Love
thank you for inshallah. When I reach that point, I won't give you the
it.
compliment yet, but inshallah, I feel like I
Listen,
I
I
can see
love
that
it.
light.
I love that you're keeping me humble. Honestly, wallah, it's usually the other way around. So I love it. This is awesome. Alhamdulillah. No, Jazakallah khairan, Sister Muneeza. I mean, is there anything you want to sort of impart on the people before leaving? And by the way, Sister Muneeza is a great social worker. She knows her
Yes,
stuff
thank you.
too. So a little plug for you. If anyone is interested or with working with you, you know how to talk to people, mashallah, you know how to advise people, please reach out to her. We'll try to link her information down low in the video as well, so you can reach out to her accordingly. But just to wrap up, is there anything you would like to sort of impart on people? Any thoughts about the program, etc.?
No, I think I've kind of spoken quite a bit. Don't want to gas you up too much on that one,
That's fine.
but I feel like, alhamdulillah, just make the step. And if you're ever concerned, because it is a lot and it can be very costly for people.
Mhm.
Um, but it literally takes one step to start the rest of your life, just like it took one step and a downfall to get stuck where you are. So, question is, which way are you going to make your bed?
Jazakallah khairan, Sister Muneeza. I just want to say I'm super proud of what you've done. You showed up, you
Alhamdulillah.
trusted the process, and you're literally proof that our method works. Alhamdulillah. And if people want to get results just like you, they know exactly where to go. Really appreciate your time and looking forward to working with you more. And obviously,
Um,
your contributions in the sisters group that we have ongoing. Jazakallah
inshallah,
khairan
thank
again for
you.
your time.